contrary to what is my thought, originated with the population of Eastern Greece, who deified with embodiments every benevolent form of power. The worship of a peculiar deity, as in the case of Rome, was established following an intervention of the city in favor of the population who lived there. These are the reasons why the deities received not only religious value, but also political value, embodying the loyalty and the gratitude that this population recognized her. It is not surprising, then, that Rome, the conquering city, ends to be thanked and even deified. The first artifact, certainly attributable to the goddess Roma, thanks to the legend Rome, is dated to the 3rd century BC, and it comes for the city of Locri Epizefiri. It is a D-dramma, more precisely Statere Italiota, whose vintage is due to the protection of Rome towards the Magno-Greek city. In 2077 BC, in fact, the Romans removed Pirro's presidium in Locri. Thanks to that, the people of Locri decided to celebrate the loyalty of the city towards Rome, imprinting her even the coins. In particular, in this coin, Rome is sitting with the right arm holding a shield and with the left one holding the parazzonium, kind of short sword. In front of her, there is his pistis with the legend Pistis, embodiment of the good faith and of the reliability, who poses a wreath thrown in the head of Roma. In excerpt, the legend Locri, and the other side of the coin there was a graduated head of Zeus with long hair. This emission, however, remains isolate because the first persisting evidences of the cult of Roma belong to the beginning of the 2nd century BC and come from eastern part of the Greek Empire. The cities which laid the foundation of this worship are in fact Smyrna for the Asiatic world and Delphi for the Greek side. The first will erect a templum Urbis Rome 195 BC to secure the protection of the city against Antiochus III, and the other will institute the Romaia Games in her honor, celebrated in 189 BC. Following the Treaty of Apamea, furthermore, many private people, but especially cities and federations in the whole Mediterranean, will decide to institute the cult of Roma. In the Roman Empire, this deity will find space only in the Augustan period, when the emperor will associate himself to her cult, spreading her worship. However, we have to wait the rise to power of Hadrian to see Roma considered as an independent deity. Hadrian, in fact, building the temple of Venus and Rome in the heart of the city and attributing her the epithet of Eterna will ensure her a never-end reputation in Rome. We have, however, a constant production outside Rome. One example is a coin dated between 41 and 42 AD, which depicts on one side the Emperor Claudius, facing left, and on the other side the Emperor and Roma, who crowns him inside a distant temple of Hypocrisy. On the architrave can be read Rome et Aug. Rome in this case is standing frontal and also with the left hand and cornucopia, and with the right one is putting a crow on the head of the emperor who holds a spear. This coinage will remain current until the end of the 3rd century AD, obviously with some variants as a testimony of the fact that the cult of Rome is extended not only geographically but also in time. The embodiment of Roma finds space in every archaeological context. There are in fact coins, statues, relief, mosaics, and other artifacts which represent her in the two principal typologies. In Pacific clothes, almost always employed for religious purpose, and in military clothes as vehicle of political and propagandistic messages. It is interesting to note, however, that in the coins of the Greek world, Rome is always depicted in Pacific clothes, except in the case of the coin of Locri. Instead, in the Western world, the goddess is almost always depicted in weapons. Today, Rome is not so known, but she is one of the few deities who completely embraced the Mediterranean basin, from Asia to Spain and from Africa to Germany. To understand in depth the importance of this cult in the whole Mediterranean, we can examine some other artifacts from different contexts and belonging to different typologies. The first finding is unique in the panorama of the representation of Rome. It is a marble statue found in Dilo, precisely in the structure of Poseidoniasti, merchants and shipowners who adored Poseidon. Even if it is quite deteriorated, headless and without arms, it can be seen the goddess standing with the chitone and imation, the typical dresses. The plinth of the statues can be inserted in the base found nearby, which has the inscription of Eugethin and the sign of the sculptor, Menandro, son of Melas. This brings the date into the 2nd century BC. Coming from the Temple of Rome and August in the ancient Forum of Leptis Magna is a colossal head in Pentelic marble, restored and integrated with the missing parts. The statue is dated between 14 and 37 AD, and it was probably part of a bigger group of statues which represented the deities in the temple with other minor figures. This is confirmed by the epigraph carved in the portal of the temple, partially reconstructed. Actually, all these statues were acroliths whose wooden parts were probably coated by jewels and tissues. The back was emptied to reduce the weight, further confirmation that they were made to be seen only frontally. The difference between this head and the representation of the member of the gens Julio Claudia is the model of inspiration. Rome, in fact, has a physiognomic characterization derived from the Greek classics, so she has an harmonic beauty. Instead, the other figures of the imperial dynasty are represented following their real physical characteristics. Another interesting artifact is the one found in mines. Here were found more than 2,000 fragments got back together, which form the column dedicated to Jupiter and dated to the age of Nero. The monument, 10 meters high, was a square pedestal on which lay the real column, which on the top has a Corinthian capital and base for a statue, but we unfortunately don't have it. All the representation consists in a parade of deities. In the lower part, there is also an inscription dated between 459 and 66 AD, with the name of the imperial partially erased because of the damnatio memoriae. On the second portion of the column, there is a panel with 4 figures, Tellus, Virtus, Vulcano, and Roma, who wears the chitone, high shoes, and the helm with plumes, while she also with the hand a crown and a vexillum. A mention deserves the panel in opus sectile dated to the 4th century AD, today kept in Palazzo Colonna in Rome, and may be belonging on the temple of Serapis. In the panel, we can see a high tree with 2 birds, under which stay Faustolo with a sheep. On the right, there is an altar with the she-wolf and the twins. On the left can be seen Roma staying on the high rock, depicted in Amazonian cloth, holding with the right hand a pole, while poses the left one on the shields close to her. Probably this panel was part of pavement. Today it is encrusted in a wall between 2 male hairs. One of the most particular artifacts in a big honorary monument dedicated from the citizen of Aphrodisia in Turkey to Zoilos a freedman of Octavian, supreme priest of Aphrodite, the eponymous magistrate who lived in the second half of the 1st century BC. Zoilos is mentioned in many inscriptions, one for all published by Reynolds, in which you can read the merits of that man. Unfortunately, we don't have a precise dating for this frieze, which, however, it can be placed around the 30 BC. In the frieze, there was Zoilos tainted by the population with embodiment of Demos, Polis, Timen, Andrea, Ion, and important for us, Rome. The goddess is seated looking left, has a semi-Amazonic dress and bundle on the shoulder. Her left elbow is posed on a shield, in turn posed on a pillar. This might be the moment to which Zoilos was consecrated and to which Rome and the other deities are assisting. Last but not least, artifact is a mosaic from Madaba, and more precisely from the Hippolytus Hall under the Church of the Virgin, which today is inside a big archaeological park. This room was added in the age of Justinian to the west side of a Roman building, and it presents a very articulate decoration with a central panel and a double frame round. The part we are interested in is the oriental one, with the mosaic dated to the 6th century AD, which represent the 3 embodiments of cities seated on thrones, with cornucopia and cross in the right hand. They are Rome, Gregoria, and Madaba herself, identified by their inscription. Madaba and Gregoria wear a tower-shaped crown, instead Roma has the typical Phrygian hat. In conclusion, the cult of Roma started in Orient and rapidly spread in all the Greek territories. The Romans transported this model, adapting it to their needs, emerging of the military propagandistic side. From Pergamon to Ostia, from Gaul to Spain to Africa, we have artifacts that are the expression of the cult of a deity born for popular needs, but that will acquire a big favor even inside aristocracy. Even in the modern times, in fact, the goddess Roma is known and represented in the whole world. See the Fontaine Campidoglio Square or the one made by the Polish sculptor Igor Nitoraj in 2003. Thank you.
Now, if there is no question to the speaker, I would like to invite Professor Osman Erafşar to have the speech on Byzantine and